Okay, so assuming that all went well and the software installed and you have Visual Studio Code, then you're probably now looking at a window that looks something like this. And I actually have a theme that I'm running, so that's why the colors might be different. But overall, this is what Visual Studio Code looks like. This is what the interface looks like. Also, I should mention that when Visual Studio Code updates, you'll get a notification, usually down here in this corner. You click on it, you follow the steps, and it'll automatically update your version of Visual Studio Code to the latest stable version, which is pretty convenient. So let's talk about how to get this working. So first of all, Visual Studio Code, you can see we have the usual stuff up here. We also have some options on the side. Now, this is where you're usually going to be clicking and looking at stuff. So what do we have? Extensions, which is what we're going to go to first. So when you click on extensions, it comes up with this little menu here, and you can see there's just a ton of stuff here. And you also see, yeah, I've already got some stuff installed, but that's because I'm currently using it for some tasks. But I'm going to show you how to do the Python extension. So I'm just going to, it's the Python, and here is a Python extension. So I'm going to click on that. And you can see this is published by Microsoft. So it says their officially supported Python extension for Visual Studio Code. And I'm going to click on install. So right now it's installing it. And a recent feature in Visual Studio Code is that you can install an extension, and it used to make you reload out. Well, okay, so this must be a pretty intense extension because it does say reload is required. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the reload required, and it pops us back up. And we're almost back. See, the reloading is not that bad. It's pretty fast. So you may also have noticed, hey, there's a lot of other extensions that you can get as part of this. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, all right, we've installed that extension. So what next? So what are we going to do next? I'm considering, yes, let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to go ahead and open up a new terminal. So I know that we just saw the terminal in Python, and the idea of working from a terminal for some of you might seem, I don't know, maybe a little different or maybe kind of intimidating. But I want to go ahead and try to get used to it, because working from the terminal can be an extremely powerful way to start doing your work and start looking at your computer. It is useful and handy and sometimes even faster to use the UI, but a lot of times the terminal is the best choice if you have the know-how to get something done. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so first, you'll notice that I have this open, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a directory called hello. All right, so you can see what happened there. In fact, I'll even show you on here. So we are in users, SafeRx dev, and if I scroll down, we're going to see, right here. So this is the directory I just created. You can see the timestamp. It's exactly 2:30, and today's February 12th. So yeah, we just created that through the terminal. Okay. So now I'm going to change directory into hello. So now I'm in the hello directory. And a command to see what's in the directory is this, ls. So if I type ls, you can see there's nothing. There's nothing in the directory, nothing happened. Now, if there was something in the directory, then it would display all of the files and directories that were there. And you'll see this in just a moment. So now we're going to get code to treat this as the project directory. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to type code and then period. So code is a word, a command word for the Visual Studio Code application, so we're getting its attention. And period just means right here, this directory. We're going to do something right here. So I'm going to say code space period. And when I press enter, it opens up a new version of another Visual Studio Code, so we're not working from the old one anymore. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and close that one. And we're now in the hello directory. So we are now working from a project folder called hello. Okay, so next we need to tell Visual Studio Code where our Python interpreter is. Now the Python interpreter, not to confuse you, is the exact thing that we just downloaded when we did the Python installation. It's the behind the scenes engine that's allowing the computer to interpret all of our Python instructions, everything that we type in idle or in the command line that's Python. So to do that, I'm going to hold Control-Shift-P. All right. So I'm going to go click on Visual Studio Code. I'm going to type Control-Shift-P. And this brings up what's called the command palette. So this is a whole bunch of commands that are with Visual Studio. And hey, guess what, guys? We're going to ignore like almost all of these, okay? So don't even worry about it. I know it's like super intimidating to see all of these commands and you're like, oh my gosh, am I going to have to learn all of these? The answer is no, absolutely not. Not even, no, none of them. We will rarely look at this. So I'm going to go ahead and type in Python and then let's see, select interpreter. So you can see it's kind of highlighted in blue here. So I'm going to click on that. All right. So now the Python extension is loading. And we're just going to wait for that to finish. Oops, okay. I clicked away, so, okay, so now we have the Python extension is loaded, and we have here some options. Now, I want to make sure that we use the Python installation that we just did. So you can see I have a previous Python installation of 3.6.5, which is part of another application. I don't want to use that. I want to use Python 3.7.2, which is in my my personal installation. So this is the one we're going to use. Click on that. Okay, so now we need to make sure that this is working. And I'm going to go ahead and open up another terminal. So you can do that just by clicking here, or you can do the Control-Shift backtick. And I can show you where the backtick is if you've never really used it before. Depending on which route we go in our travels through software development, you may be becoming much more familiar with the backtick. But in this particular instance, it's just useful as part of a command to open up a terminal without touching the mouse. So that, again, that keyboard command, open the terminal in Visual Studio Code, is Control-Shift backtick. Okay, so that opens up our terminal, and let's see, what do we want to do? Let's go ahead and create that file. So to do that from the command line, I'm just going to type code hello.py. Okay, so that py tells the computer that this is a Python file that we're creating. So I'm going to go ahead and create that. Okay, and you can see that it went ahead and popped that open right here in the editor. So this is really great. So now we have inside of Visual Studio Code, we can type and run our Python files. And this is a little bit better of an experience than you're going to get by using idle, which is the out-of-the-box editor that comes with Python. Idle is just fine. If you guys like to use idle, I totally understand. If you've done other tutorials, then you would think, well, idle is good enough for me. Okay, great. No problem there. Now, I like to use Visual Studio Code because it's going to give me some things that are going to help me write better code and to write code faster. And when it comes to writing scripts, and especially when you're new, it's really useful and helpful to have something that can point out a mistake that you made, or that can help you to figure out what the right syntax to use is by suggesting it using IntelliSense is what they call it. When it suggests the word, it does that, but it's with code. So it's really great. So useful when you're just getting started. let's go ahead and see an example of that right here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type some Python. Okay, so here we go, guys. We're going to see some real code. And if you have a computer with you and any of that, I totally encourage you to follow along. You should always try to follow along and do the tutorials as you're watching them, or pause the video and try to do them. You're just going to get so much more out of anything that you do, any type of code tutorial that you do, if you do that. So I'm going to declare a variable. So this is all there is to it, really, in Python, to declare a variable. And I'm going to put hello world. Now, hello world is an old trope in programming. You're going to see this a lot. And then enter, and then I'm going to type print. Okay, and you can see, look, I'm getting some IntelliSense popping up here. Print is a Python command that prints something to the console. It tells you exactly what it does here. Now, these are not friendly explanations that you're going to get out of these things. It takes a little while to learn how to read these, but really what you should pay attention to is the top where it says def print, and then it has the parentheses, right? Because that's telling you what the arguments are, the potential arguments of this function. And we're going to get more into that, but I just want to pull your attention to it just momentarily. But if you see this come up, then it means like, oh, okay, you typed the command correctly. So I'm going to type the parentheses, and I'm going to put message in there, and okay. All right, and then I can also pull up some other things. So I can say message dot, oh, look at this. This is what I'm talking about with the IntelliSense, and this is why I wanted you guys to use Visual Studio Code, because here we have a whole bunch of things that pop up and that can change the way that Hello World looks. It can capitalize it, so it's all in caps, or it can do some other things. We'll get into a lot of these functions that are available just because we're using this in Visual Studio Code. Now, these functions are available no matter where you are. If you're writing Python, they're there. But it's so helpful if you don't have to be flipping back between the documentation and whatever, and you can just kind of see it pop up. Okay, so that's going to happen there. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to run this, and let's see what happens. What should happen is Hello World should pop out in a terminal. So let's see. Now I'm going to run this by hitting F5 on my keyboard. What happened? Why didn't this work? I think I know why, guys. So I'm going to hit cancel on this error message. And it's because I didn't save. Alright, and it's also asking me to install a linter, which I think I will pause the video and do. Okay, guys, that took less than a minute to do, and I recommend if you also got the same message, if you're following along, to go ahead and do that as well. And I went ahead and cleared all of the text that appeared just by typing clear in the terminal and pressing enter. All right, so I'm going to press F5 again. And now you can see it's running it. It did a bunch of stuff here, and boom, it popped out Hello World, exactly what we expected right here in the terminal. And there you go, guys. You just wrote your first Python program. And I'm going to go ahead and stop here for now. And if I'm actually showing you this in the classroom, which, oh my God, I'm so sorry if I did. But maybe that's a good thing. At the very least, I'll make sure you have access to these videos and you'll be able to review them from home. All right, guys, thank you.